You're listening to The Tales We Tell, a podcast about spooky stories, unsolved mysteries, and local lore. I'm your host, Hannah Parch.
And I'm Katy.
Welcome back.
For part two.
Part two. Part trois? Do? I don't know how to say do. Dos?
Duh.
Duh? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We just saw each other a couple hours ago, so we don't really need to catch up on life because we did that.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to think beforehand if we had any announcements for our wonderful listeners.
I have a funny one.
Ooh, tell us.
So, my friend Maddie and I had a picnic. She's the friend who told me about her therapist who had actually recommended the podcast. She told me that she's like, so, embarrassing story that I think you'll appreciate.
Oh, no.
She was thinking of the wrong person. So we gave a shout out to Sheila, even though it was a different therapist or a different person who actually had recommended the podcast. Like, all of the stuff that she said, you know, like the whole, like, explain, don't excuse thing, that was still, you know, real. That was just another person, not named Sheila. And apparently Sheila is also just, like, in general, a podcast aficionado, whatever. She, you know, loves podcasts. And so that's why she got them mixed up in her brain. So when she talked to Sheila about it, she was like, no, I haven't heard of that one, actually. I was, like, confused about it for a second.
Is Sheila a therapist?
I believe so, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So she just knows two therapists who...
Well, I think one was, like, a group therapist.
Oh, okay.
And then the other... Yeah, like a regular, or maybe, I don't know.
Maybe that's not uncommon, because my therapist also recommends podcasts.
Well, there's lots of different type of therapists, too.
That's true.
Could have been a physical therapist. I don't know.
Oh, that's true.
Anyhow, she's a podcast listener, and she might be a listener now, so.
Oh, okay. Do we know the correct person to shout out?
I don't remember the name, sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, hi, unknown therapist that we did not correctly shout out, and also hello again, Sheila, if you're listening. I still named my car that.
So yeah, we had a nice laugh about that, and then devolved into stories of us being, because we both have ADHD and we both have that, like, issue of remembering people. It's not that we don't care or that we don't like you, it's that, like, my brain, like, blocks people's faces from my memory.
Face blindness.
Yeah. And I mean, it takes a couple times sometimes. Like, I feel so terrible because I'll be out, like, I was out grocery shopping the other day and someone started talking to me.
Oh no.
Like they knew me, and I'm like, I don't know who you are.
No.
But I play it off pretty well.
Oh man. That's happened to me a few times, except for it has been actual cases of someone has mistaken me for, and it's happened, like, here. I want to say once, I'm projecting, it wasn't at the grocery store. One time was when I was walking Kelly back, like, near where we used to live, and this lady legit came out and had a whole, like, she thought that, like, my sister had died or my mom had died or something, and she was, like, giving me a whole, like, how are you doing? How are things? And I was like, and then she caught on that and she was like, you're not, and I was like, no, I'm not, I'm just some lady walking my dog in your neighborhood.
Yeah, I don't know if that's ever happened where somebody's thought I'm someone else, but it definitely, it happens a lot that people talk to me like casual acquaintances. You know, I think one person was one of Shelton's technicians who I had literally met once, and I might have, like, seen in the periphery at the pharmacy when I went to go and visit him, or when I was just grocery shopping and I stopped by. But, like, I've got to have a full-blown conversation with someone. I've got to, like, connect on something.
Right.
Like, just a casual small talk thing is probably not going to solidify your face in my brain.
Yeah.
It makes me feel really bad, but, like, I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm not, like, you know, so self-centered that I can't remember other people.
Agreed. You're not self-centered.
It also goes along with the whole out of sight, out of mind thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I haven't seen you for a while, I'm still thinking about you. I just am not reaching out to text you or call you or something. Like, I'm not good at it.
That actually reminds me, I have some unanswered messages to reply to, which I'm always tempted to do when I'm doing announcements, and I should not do that. I should just be a responsible person and reply to them as normal.
My way of being a responsible person is, like, I'll see a text come in, and I'll see the notification, I'll read it, and if it's not something that, like, absolutely needs to be responded to, like, that minute, like a 911 type response, and I'm not, like, I hate to say it this way, but in the mood to respond,
or you don't have the energy or whatever.
Like, it all comes back to executive dysfunction. And so I don't swipe that notification away so that I remember that it's there, so that when I am, like, essentially in a functioning headspace, I can respond.
Leave things unread.
And then the only flaw is that sometimes something else important will come in, and I'll have to respond to that, and somehow that will sometimes make the notification go away.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're on the receiving end of so many texts from me that are, like, a day later that's, sorry for not responding sooner.
I just assume, honestly, that you're busy with a toddler. I mean,
but when you text me at 8 o'clock at night, he's in bed. You know I'm not busy. I'm literally just laying there.
I can't remember when you haven't responded to me if I've texted you at 8 o'clock at night. But if I do text you sometimes in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And I'm not offended at all if you don't get back to me, and I have to send you a gentle reminder the next day to be like, any thoughts on this?
That's what I always tell people. I'm like, if I don't respond to you, I'm not ignoring you. Yeah. If you need me to respond sooner, by all means, send me a
follow-up.
Just give me a nudge. Like, I won't take offense to it at all. And if anything, I'm going to end up apologizing profusely to you for having to remind me.
I think one of the best things I've ever learned is just the language of, like, how to say those things. Like, just wanted to follow up on this, or, like, any thoughts, just, or, just
professional.
Yeah, just a nice way of saying, like,
things.
Hey, I'm reminding you that you haven't replied to this, but in a nice way. Because if you don't know how to say it in a nice way, then you're scared to, and then you're just like, and then you start thinking they're not replying to me on purpose, or what. I don't know. It's much easier to just say, hey, just following up on this.
When I first started at one of my jobs, my boss, or, like, we were at a meeting, and boss was like, kind of with, like, the getting to know you, it was also a, how do you like to be communicated with? And I was never been asked that question before, and so I was really thrown off by it. And she's like, for instance, never call this coworker's, like, work line, send him a text first, unless it's longer, then send an email, and then maybe, like, a text follow-up. Like, I was like, oh, this is actually, like, it's a really good thing to know, not just in, work world, but knowing how people prefer to be communicated with.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I prefer a phone call.
Yeah.
Because I have to answer it.
Yeah.
I can talk and deal with the whatever it is much faster. It's so much easier for me to be like, text message can wait.
Yeah. I think mine depends on the person. For example...
Also, I'm old enough that I'm not afraid of the phone like the younger kids.
Yeah. I mean, I think at work... I don't know that I care at work. Email or phone call, whatever. I don't do a lot of work. In my personal life, text message for simple questions, and not to specifically call out the person that will definitely be listening to this and editing this, but if you have one question that's easily answered when you're at the grocery store, and then you're going to have the same question 2 minutes later, just send me a text. Just send me a little text
He's
message.
Also neurodivergent. So.
I know, he is. God bless him.
I watched a funny video, and it was like, I'm sorry you had to repeat yourself. But my brain literally, I mean, in one ear, out the other, like, I can't tell you how many times. I was at Knitting Club the other day, and I was trying to set up this event for a special luncheon thingy, and people were shouting out, like, oh, we need to say what we're going to bring that, we don't bring things like, oh, Judy's bringing ham, and, Janice is bringing macaroni salad, and whatever. And so all these people are shouting different things at me, and I'm like, my brain just, I had to ask somebody, I'd be like, okay, what did y'all say? And they would tell me, and I'd get one of them down, and be like, and what did you say? And she would tell me again.
Well, I will say, in Jarek's defense, he did end up buying me really good paint today, which is one of the things he called about. And he did tell the lady at Lowe's that he was worried he was going to get the wrong thing.
That's so sweet.
I know, but he got one of those, like, and I honestly think she charged him when she didn't need to, because it was like one of those sample cans. Whatever. It's like,
no, the little samples are like $5.
Okay, good. Then I don't feel bad. But it's like Sherwin-Williams. It's like really quality one coat. Like, didn't have to reapply.
Thick with tooth C's.
Nice satin finish. Black. Went on smooth. Oh my gosh. Knocked out those table legs in like 30 minutes. Perfect. Great. And I still have half a can left. So good job, Jarek. I'm sorry that I yelled at you. All right. Now that our energy is up.
So much for not having to catch up on things.
All right. Well, I have a recap for us. So if you didn't listen to the last episode, or if this is your first episode, first of all, welcome. Second of all,
rewind.
Turn this off and go listen last week to episode 161, which is about the death of Betsy Faria. I'm going to quickly recap right now. Okay, so last week, Betsy Faria, who was 42, which I don't think I mentioned, was a warm, bubbly woman who had been diagnosed with terminal breast cancer in 2010. And on the night of Tuesday, December 27th of 2011, her good friend, which was, I did air quotes, Pam Hupp, picked her up from her mom's house where she had been resting after a chemo appointment to bring her home, while her husband Russ was at a friend's house for a regular game night that they had. When Russ returned home around 9:30, he found Betsy stabbed to death on their living room floor. Russ was immediately made a suspect by investigators due to what they deemed as suspicious behavior. For example...
Which we went into great detail about.
Yes. Some of which was initially telling 911 operators that he thought Betsy had committed suicide, being able to follow 911 operators' instructions, and not crying enough. So all of that was apparently suspicious.
Being able to be distracted by a different topic in conversation.
Not grieving in the way that investigators thought he should.
God, if you're trying to, like, comprehend all of this, having a conversation to, like, will help compartmentalize, I feel like.
Yes. I swear, we need, like, a side podcast that's just called, like, ADHD, the side. I don't know.
I feel like there's tons of ADHD podcasts out there.
I know.
So we don't need another one.
We don't.
But, I mean, I feel like even, like, all of that, though, we went into great detail about how I would be totally screwed because I would have been totally fine with all of that. And I think that a lot of people would, too, regardless of if they're neurodivergent or not.
Yeah. Well, and the way that people act after a traumatic event shouldn't count as any kind of evidence because everyone is completely different. I mean, the first thing that came to my mind was the Amanda Knox case. Just listen to a podcast that she was on because she's, like, now an advocate for, like, how shitty our justice system is, which I guess that was the Italian justice system, but justice in general. But she was, like, murdered by the media, crucified by the media because of the way she was acting after her roommate's murder, because the media thought that she should be acting a different way.
Right.
And
whereas, like, if Russ had been, like, completely broken down, inconsolable, like, uncontrollable sobbing, they would have said he was overacting.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Yeah. Like,
there's not a perfect way to act, and, like, someone can and will find fault with however you act. So act however you want.
So even though he did things that I would consider completely normal and acceptable, he was considered sus.
Yes. And then, despite having an airtight alibi that included multiple witnesses, video surveillance, cell phone data, and receipts that showed that Russ was nearly 30 miles away during the time of Betsy's murder, the prosecution put together a convoluted theory.
Because something was controversial, yet technically, potentially, in very rare cases... a little bit possible.
It was theoretically possible that Betsy could have been murdered and rigor mortis could have set in immediately after or immediately before the call had been made.
Basically, there was like a 10-minute time frame between when he could have potentially gotten home and when that 911 call was made. Yeah. That he could have murdered her, stabbed her multiple times.
Cleaned up a little bit.
Sorry to skip ahead in the recap. Stabbed her multiple times. And then, make sure that he's not covered in any blood. And then call 911.
Yeah. So the prosecution's theory was that Russ had gotten his friends to conspire with him to murder his wife, that his friends had impersonated him on camera and helped him stage an alibi and, mind you, lied to investigators and, like, put their lives on the line. And then Russ had murdered Betsy, allegedly angered over her decision to remove him as a beneficiary on her life insurance policy, cleaned up and called 911 and pretended to have just found her. And then Pam Hupp, who was the friend, who had replaced Russ as the beneficiary on Betsy's life insurance policy just 5 days before.
Follow the money.
Was questioned by police. She contradicted herself several times. She was the last known person to see Betsy alive, and she actively steered police towards Russ as a suspect. But Russ was convicted of his wife's murder in 2013 and sentenced to life plus 30 years without the possibility of parole. And that's where we ended that episode.
Man, I know that, like, the burden of proof lies on the, the prosecution or whatever. They went overtime on this. Like, the mental gymnastics of, the friends were in it. Like, they were... It's so obvious. Like, maybe he was a little suspicious in his behavior because he didn't cry enough or he was able to follow directions from the 911 operator. But Pam was also very suspicious. And the fact that a few days prior, the life insurance payout switched from husband to friend. That's way more of a motive to me. Like, money, I mean, if I know that, like, somebody's murdered, check the spouse. Yeah. I understand that because, probably was. But if there is a money-related motive that points to someone else, you need to spend more time on that person.
Well, and also, what I don't get is just that the physical evidence didn't make any sense. Like... Oh, yeah. It did not make sense that that Betsy had been killed, like, right before investigators got there. Like, she very clearly had been killed a couple hours beforehand. Like, I think they even mentioned, like, the blood had, like, coagulated a little bit. Like, obviously rigor mortis had started to set in. And they, again, did that mental gymnastics and, like, twisted everything around to be like, okay, but it was technically maybe theoretically possible that in a very rare instance, rigor mortis could have set in immediately after she was killed. And it's like, okay, but if you hear hoofs, what is it? If you hear
Hoofbeats.
Thank you.
Horses.
Yes, like, that's not what the evidence is pointing to. The evidence is not pointing to her having been killed at 9:30. Well, it's pointing to her having been killed at 7 o'clock when frickin' Pam dropped her off.
I'm curious as to what those rare cases are, because, like, I mean, it's not even, like, a fully accepted thing that actually does or can happen. But for the people that do, think that it can, in rare cases, surely there's some sort of, commonality.
Yeah.
That, would be like, oh, well, these people all had rigor mortis set in, but they were all taking this blood thinner medication or something like that.
The only thing that
someone
I read...
on chemo is probably not taking blood thinners.
The only thing that I read was that it was like the person was maybe like not actively stressed, but like they made it sound like they were, like in great or like stressing themselves. What am I trying to say?
Exertion?
Yeah, like maybe exerting themselves or like experiencing great stress when they died.
Well, yeah, if you're being stabbed to death, you probably are in that whole fight or flight thing.
But the evidence also pointed to the fact that Betsy was more or less, which I didn't cover a lot of this, but like Betsy was more or less like stabbed like while she was asleep. Like she was laying on the couch and someone like, cheap shotted her and stabbed her while she was asleep.
Because she had just had a chemo treatment earlier that day.
Yeah. So it's like she wasn't, it's not like she was, like trying to stave someone off.
Yeah.
And in this, exerting all of the muscles in her body when she was suddenly killed. And I don't even know if that's how that theory, goes. But even if that was the case, no, she was asleep. So
or resting,
yeah. So this whole thing. So today we're going to focus a little bit more on our friend Pam.
Good.
And let me just tell you, I've got a lot of quotes in here because this woman is so fucking unhinged that I just couldn't paraphrase. I was like, I need to
just let Pam speak for herself.
I just gotta let Pam speak for herself. So just buckle up, everyone. Pam Hupp was born on October 10th, 1958, and she grew up in Delwood, Missouri. She was one of 4 children, and her mother was a school teacher, and her father worked for Union Electric. And growing up, she was described by friends as full of fun, no drama, and no moodiness. Which
sounds like bullshit.
Right? Doesn't that sound like... Okay.
I mean, I was kind of a no drama llama, but I still... Yeah. No, I would also still get pulled into stuff.
Teenage girls are like all drama.
Yeah. And we're all moody from time to time. Like,
I'm moody today. Like, ugh. So she got pregnant when she was a senior in high school. And so she got married.
Yeah, no drama.
I know, no drama. So she like did the right thing and got married.
Sorry.
But that did not work out, and so she got divorced.
I'm shocked, I say.
So she got divorced 6 years later, and then shortly after that, she met and married Mark Hupp. So as an adult, friends described her as positive, level-headed, mature, and logical. But there were also some strange things that seemed to happen when she was around. Her boss at State Farm remembers her...
When she and Betsy worked together?
Yeah, this is when her and Betsy worked together. Her boss remembers her telling him that she was involved in the FBI somehow, but she was really vague about it. Like, she was just, like, I work... Like, she was just that person that just kind of dropped casually that she worked for the FBI, but she couldn't talk about it.
It's kind of when I stretch the truth for funsies and say that I'm certified to operate government motorboats.
Sure.
Because I did the Department of the Interior's motorboat operator certification course when I was an intern. Basically, it's just a boater safety class. It's just given by the government. Like, like the certificate implies, yes, I am certified to operate motorboats.
This reminds me of when Casey Anthony, didn't she like bullshit her way about how she worked at like Universal Studios or something, and she even took investigators like all the way through the office. She like got all the way into like the offices. I don't know if it's Universal Studios. It was somewhere. She got all the way into the offices and just like led them around until she finally ended up like at a dead end and was just like, well, I don't know. I guess I don't work here.
I don't remember all that. Yeah. No, mine is not on that level, obviously. Mine is the truth. It's just presented in a more flattering way.
I love the comparisons you're making.
It's like contouring. It's still my face.
Just a little better.
Mostly because I don't actually know how to contour.
Oh, neither do I. I just put a little blush and a little bronzer.
Yeah.
Just wherever.
I'm just like, I'll put some bronzer lines in, but then I got to blend, and then I'm like, that's nothing.
Too hard to
changed.
do.
I still look just like me. Okay.
Okay, so other weird things happening. So also at State Farm, while Pam was working there was a situation where her boss's signature was forged on a letter to a client, and they never really figured out what happened with that. Spoiler alert, Pam did that. Also, cars in Pam's neighborhood would get keyed. There was a time when, and I have no idea what the this is about, quote, a pile, this is why I put quotes in here. A pile of bloody animal bones were left in someone's yard. If that happened to me or anyone I knew, I would move. I wouldn't move. That's expensive. But a pile of bloody animal bones.
I came home and there was a dead fish in my driveway once.
Really?
There was also a dead cat once.
Ooh. Well.
I think it was there's lots of stray neighborhood cats that run around, and I think somebody left out poison. And he just happened to, because I'd seen him hang out in our driveway before, and I always left it alone. But the fish thing, similar thing happened to our neighbor, and he said he'd seen like a stray dog. And since we're so close to the river, people will go out there and fish. Yeah. And so he thinks it was just like a stray dog found a dead fish that someone had thrown off on the side.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It had probably been carrying it and maybe got scared off, and like, that's how it got left in our driveway.
That makes sense.
I thought it was funny.
Yeah, the cat thing's kind of sad. Although there are tons of stray cats where you live.
I mean, I can't tell how many times I've walked out of my house in the morning and it smelled like my front yard smells like a litter box. And there is a neighbor. I actually had to get up close and personal with the cat. I mean, I didn't touch it or anything, but like I had to get close to it because it was an orange cat. Not my orange cat. Yeah. It was a different kind of orange. But 2 doors down, the neighbor has an orange cat named Finn, and he's an indoor-outdoor kitty, and he likes to come and hang out on our porch, and he'll come and say hi and terrorize the dogs. Of course. But he also likes to sunbathe in our driveway, and I was terrified that it was Finn. But
it wasn't.
It wasn't.
Okay, good. There was a dead possum on our back patio back when we lived over near Nia. It was like a little possum, like an adolescent. Yeah. And I remember, I don't know where Jarek was. I don't know what he was doing. But, and I don't know why I told Luke about it, but Luke came and got rid of it for me. Because I was like, I don't know what to do. There's a dead possum near my door. Help. And then he just texted me and he was like, possum's gone. Just, thank you. I don't know what to do with it. Okay.
This must have been when Jarek was working the
probably
third shift or second shift.
That must have been what it was. And his phone probably didn't work. It was just like, someone help me.
So,
okay.
Bloody animal bones.
Yes. And there was also, quote, several mean-spirited anonymous letters that were sent to someone. And again, this is all just happening around Pam.
I mean, between the letters and the car king, that's like typical Karen behavior.
Yeah.
But like pre-smartphone.
Yeah. And it's just all kind of happening around Pam. And no one, like, associated it with Pam. Mm-hmm. She's just happens to be where it is. She was also very confident and very nonchalant. She seemed to have a penchant for suing people for her problems. Mostly...
litigious people drive me up a wall.
Mostly accidents that resulted in chronic pain or disability.
Meanwhile, everyone else out there suffering from chronic pain and disabilities, especially any autoimmune related things, are just...
yeah. This is another quote. Quote, videos show her walking with ease, running away from a Fox 2 camera, and crossing her legs without a wince. She even managed Zumba classes. So unclear about that chronic pain or disability.
That sounds like a quote from, like, an insider source kind of a thing, or like some news show is like, our reporters went undercover to, you know, get to the bottom of this. And like, there's the voiceover.
Yeah, it does sound very, man, I can't think of who, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. And then during Russ's trial, Dateline, that's what it is. Thank you. During Russ's trial specifically, Pam would tell investigators that she had suffered head trauma and memory problems.
Convenient.
I know. When asked what her disability was, she said, quote, I'm not sure what they classify it as. I know I have drop foot and balance problems. And this was from, allegedly, a fall in 2009 where she hit her head on a cabinet at work. I don't know what drop foot is, by the way. Do you?
Actually, I think if it is what I think it is, my dad actually had it for a little bit.
Oh.
And I forget what causes. Basically, it just... when you go to step down, you know how your foot normally kind of like rolls or whatever? His would just kind of drop down.
Oh, that makes sense.
And it would just mess with his gait for a little bit. I think it was related to...
head trauma?
No. No. Because he didn't have any head trauma until his terrifying Katy scare.
Terrifying situation.
Which thankfully he doesn't seem to be having any lingering issues.
That's good.
With.
We can compare his situation with Pam.
I think it was related to he had to have a hip replacement. He basically wore the thing out from all of his walking, and so I think it was something related there. You know, kind of like the pain and irritation with the hip joint.
Okay.
But yeah, no. If drop foot is what I think it is, it literally just means that when you take a step, your foot just kind of lands wrong
makes sense.
Instead of being like placed down.
Huh. That's a good name for it. Although when I hear it, it makes me think of dropsy, which is not the same thing. When investigators asked, quote, what is your head injury? She said, quote, I have no idea. When asked, quote, how do you know you have memory issues? She said, quote,
I don't know if I want to hear this.
Because you're asking me questions and I don't remember. Oh, I have a headache.
I'm in pain.
You should sue someone for that, probably.
Can I sue her?
Yes, probably.
And also the lawyer questioning her for allowing this bullshit.
Oh, just wait. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. A high school friend would later say of Pam, quote, when I see her on TV, the way she acts in interviews with police, that is not the person I knew. So, essentially, something I read was like, she probably did have some kind of head trauma that caused like a personality change or something because she's acting way different than what people remember her
I know
as.
people who that has happened to, but like this one person got in a severe car accident and was hospitalized for months and months, like in a coma, didn't think he was going to wake up kind of a thing. He did, but as a very different person.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Or she could just be, like, a highly manipulative person and have just been this way her whole life. So, who knows?
Or she could have just been, jaded through life or whatever. Like,
that's true.
How old was she? She was in her, 40s, 50s when the trial was going on?
Yeah,
she was in her 50s because this was in the 2000s and she was 50 whatever. People change.
Yeah, people change. That's true.
I do not have the personality that I did when I was in high school. Maybe later on in high school is more similar, but
yeah,
I've grown a lot.
I think I was nicer in high school. I kind of wish I was nicer. I gotta work on that.
While I was still very confident, I was also very insecure.
Oh yeah, I was really insecure.
I'm a lot less insecure these days, but still just as confident.
I'm much more confident, and I'm much more confident about myself and what I believe.
Yeah.
And who I am.
I'm not confident about the things that matter to me. Like my abilities and things.
Oh, well, that's what friends are for.
Yeah.
We're confident for you. When questioned about a financial motive, Pam denied that she was in need of money. In one police interview, she claimed, quote, "I have no debt. I didn't have an immediate need for money." She told police that she...
just because you don't have a need... Like, first of all, everybody needs money.
Yes.
Even rich people need money because they still have expenses. They still got bills. Just because you don't have an immediate need for, like, more or excess money...
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're not going to try and get it. Everybody wants more money.
Just listen to these quotes. She told police that she had a life insurance policy on her son. This is a quote. "I know if our..." And I don't know what the fuck she means by any of this. "I know if our son gets in a car accident or dies, whatever, because he's young, I'm going to get that money." And I have no idea what kind of inflection that was... I don't know.
Hello, Mr. Moonman figurine. While you were doing your space travels, are you sure there's no such things as aliens?
Because Pam might be one.
Pam might be one.
And this is just a whole quote that I took.
Have you found any other sign of intelligent life on our planet? Maybe? Because she dumb.
Katy's losing her mind already.
This is gonna be my friend. My emotional support astronaut figurine.
Do you need Steven?
I might need to pick up Steven.
Okay.
Can Steven come to the live show?
Sure. Yes. Absolutely, Steven can come to the live show.
You hear that, buddy?
Remind me. We'll bring Steven. Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna stay with my emotional support astronaut figurine for a little bit.
Great. Okay, so this is a quote. I just had to pull the whole thing. This is from St. Louis Mag, which I got a ton of information from. They have a really good article on Pam. So this whole thing is a quote. In another interview with police, she said, quote, "To me, in my world, $150,000 is not that much." When a lawyer asked about a deposit to her bank account and she said she didn't know where it came from, he said, "Where else would you receive $134,000 from?" Incensed, she lost her usual equanimity. "I could receive it from anywhere. I could receive it from my brother. I could receive it from my mother. I could receive it from... What do you think? I'm poor?
Cat in a hat with a rabbit and a bat? I could receive it in the rain. I could receive it with pain. I could receive it if it's green. I could receive it when it's seen."
What do you think? I'm poor? I don't know people? I don't know what you're insinuating. The end of the quote. He literally said, "Where did you get this $134,000 deposit in your bank account?"
And she became obnoxiously defensive.
"Excuse me, ma'am. $134,000 is a lot of money."
Yes, it is.
To anyone. Stop acting like your shit don't stink.
But also... It's one of those, like, it is a lot of money.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you've murdered someone and that's all you're getting, because let's be real here, like, this is not a spoiler, we all know she done did it.
We all know that.
I hope if anyone murders me, they get a lot more than $134,000.
Also,
like, come on.
I'm
worth more than that.
Oh, you very much are. And we've also still have that agreement that you're not going to let anything happen to my pants if I get murdered, right? Okay, good. I would also argue that even if $134,000 is not a lot of money to you because you're so rich, Pam, that is a suspicious deposit. Like, if your brother is giving you $134,000, what for? Yeah. Why? That's weird. Why are you just getting that amount of money?
Yeah. That's weird. I mean, if he was, like, giving you large payment sums, also, that's taxable income.
Yeah, the IRS wants to know.
Exactly. So you're going to have to explain it to somebody.
Someone, yeah.
If it's coming from your brother or a family member, which I have learned, it's got to be once a year, smaller lump sums. It's got to be
smaller than that. Yeah.
Uh-oh. I feel like there's another Pam quote coming.
There is. Well, first, a small anecdote. Her friends like to tell a story. This is just to give you some more ideas of the kind of person that Pam is with money.
Oh, Mr. Astronaut. What are her friends going to tell us?
Her friends like to tell the story of when her daughter, so Pam's daughter, was a newlywed, and her daughter found a foreclosure that her and her husband were going to buy, and she was really excited about it, and so she told her mom, Pam, about it, and she made the mistake of telling Pam what they were planning on bidding on the house. And what did Pam do? Pam swept in and underbid her and bought the house out from under her and flipped it for a profit.
That is a bitch thing to do.
Know.
Like, your daughter is starting out her new life with her new husband.
I know. So, yeah.
She wanted to make this a home, not flip it for profit. Like, yeah, hopefully in the renovations when they upgraded to a larger family home, sure. That makes me so angry. Bad parents make me so mad.
And even if her daughter did want to flip it for profit, like, who cares? It's still, that would be for anyone to do. Like, if you came to me and were like, hey, me and Shelton found this foreclosure and we're really excited and we're going to bid this on it. And I was like, hey, Jared, guess what? Katy and Shelton are going to bid this amount. Let's go in and, like, get it before them.
Yeah, no, that's something that would put a serious strain on our friendship. Yeah. It would depend on, like, it wouldn't end it probably because, you know.
It'd definitely make the podcast awkward for a while.
Yeah, it would. It'd depend on the thing. Like, again, like, if her daughter is looking as this, like, their starter home for their new life, that's something completely different than if she was looking for a project. Like, this would just be a fun project in this hypothetical thing with you and me and Shelton and Jared. Yeah. That would just be a fun project. If we were looking as, like, this is going to be our home, and you stole our future from us. Yeah. That would be potentially friendship ending. I don't know. It's hard to say.
I'm going to go ahead and say that you probably should end our friendship, or at least put a hard pause on it if we ever do something that shitty to you. Yeah. I'm just going to say, if we ever turn into those people.
I'm not your mother.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or you're not my mother, I guess.
Same. Yeah. But I also I can almost guarantee that, like, when her daughter came to her and was like, Mom, what the f***? Like, I can almost guarantee Pam was just like, what? What do you mean? It's just
I flip houses all the time.
It was just a good investment opportunity. Like, what did you expect me to do? Not take this good opportunity? What do you mean?
Just get really defensive.
Yeah, just like, ugh.
Bad parents drive me crazy.
She also just makes you want to, like, stab yourself in the ears.
There's a little wrench in my emotional support Moon Man figurines hand. You got to make sure that it doesn't go.
Yeah, he might actually just stab his own helmet and just depressurize his whole suit.
Well, actually, he doesn't have a glass covering. It's open.
That's true.
I can caress his face.
That's true. I didn't notice that of any of those guys. Uh-oh. Problems. Well, you ready?
And carbonite.
You ready for another Pam quote?
Yeah.
All right. She had once told a detective working on Betsy's case, quote, if I really, I hate to say it, wanted money, my mom's worth $500,000 that I get when she dies. If I really wanted money, there was an easier way. Please look at your next picture in your dossier, Katy.
All right, Moon Man, I'm setting you down. I am coming back for you.
Shirley Newman, Pam's mother, lived at Lakeview Park, an assisted living community in Fenton, Missouri. In 2013, she had arthritis and was beginning to show the first signs of dementia. On October 29th of 2013, she had gone to the hospital for some back pain, and then she spent the night with her daughter Pam instead of returning to her apartment at Lakeview. Pam brought her back around 5 p.m. on October 30th and told the staff not to expect her for dinner or breakfast the next morning, but that she would probably be down for lunch. When Shirley didn't appear for lunch the following day, October 30th, a housekeeper went to check on her and found her apartment door open, and the water was running in the bathroom. Inside, she found the patio door open, and out on the patio, she found the railing broken, and Shirley's body was laying in the grass below. And she was dead, if you didn't catch where that was going.
Well, when you said body.
Yeah. Katy's picked up her emotional support astronaut again. The railing had been broken with such force that some of the metal was bent outward, and a structural engineer, contacted by Dateline in BC, stated, quote, it would take a lawnmower or a vehicle to cause that much bending. I told Jarek that, and he was like, why a lawnmower? I said, I have no idea.
Also, is it a push lawnmower or a ride-on? Like, you're going to be specific enough to use a lawnmower.
I said, I don't know. Ask the structural engineer why he chose a lawnmower.
Dad, if you're listening.
Yeah. Shirley was also found to have had 8 times the normal dosage of Ambien in her system at the time of her death, but her death was not ruled suspicious. Later.
Okay, first of all,
yeah.
Like, before you even said anything, I was gonna not interrupt, but when you said something about, you were first saying the patio, describing the scene, and the railing was busted, and then you went on to saying bent metal. I'm like, there's no way an old arthritic woman was able to fall in a way that would break the railing. Like, so there's no way that she fell of her own volition off of this railing. Doped up on Ambien or not.
Well, that's what
the idiots
police believe.
It's because they only believe what they see and they don't actually think about things. Because, like, you're telling me this. I wasn't there to see it. So, like, it's I understand, you know, you see a thing and your brain is like, oh, this, you know, your brain comes up with an explanation for it based on what you're seeing.
Yeah.
But when somebody comes back and tells you the facts secondhand, it's obvious to be like, oh, it would take a lawnmower to break that railing. Which,
in retrospect, I'm like, how did Pam do it then? Like, did she bring a lawnmower up there? Like, how did she break the railing?
I'm wondering if she used some, like, furniture or something.
That seems like a lot of effort if she could have just, you know, I mean, obviously she drugged her mom.
Yeah.
Why not just throw her body over? Why? I don't know. I couldn't figure that part out.
How high is the railing?
I have no idea why the railing is broken. Maybe it's a red herring. I don't know.
Maybe. But my emotional support Moomin figurine has a wrench, so he's here to help.
Okay, good.
He can fix the railing.
Fix the railing. Later, Pam would tell investigators that she only received $100,000 as a result of her mother's death. When reminded about what she said about $500,000...
Did she bring up her memory issues?
No, she laughed. She was like, that's stupid. And she was like, well, the money had to be split between 4 siblings. Obviously. Stupid. They literally were like, she laughed like that was the stupidest thing anyone said.
Hold on, real quick. This was in 2013.
Yes, when her mother died.
What year did Betsy die?
Betsy died in 2011.
Okay.
And then according to Gen America, which I don't know what that is, it was just referenced in that same article, the St. Louis Mag article, the only insurance payment on record, I guess, that was made to Pam was in the amount of $3,589.02, like after her mom's death. Mm-hmm. And this was by a company that specifically did payouts for funeral expenses. So it's unclear if she actually got any money or if it just wasn't recorded. Also, $3,500 doesn't seem like enough to cover a funeral.
Yeah, I got, when my grandfather died a few years ago, I got, I think it was around like $4,000 and some change because his life insurance policy, I don't know what the starting was, but basically it was enough to cover all of his funeral expenses and any kind of like outstanding bills or anything, because he was in an assisted living facility at that time. Yeah. And so when my uncle called and told me about that, you know, essentially he originally told me is like, yeah, you were named on this policy as a beneficiary, but I'm letting you know right now, like, yeah, it all went to cover funeral costs, so there's nothing left. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, it was nice to be thought of, but like, I'm sad that my grandfather is dead. I don't care about money. And so when
you're not a psychopath who's not...
Despite all of the things that I have said that might imply contrary, I have no interest in murdering people for money.
You know, we've been talking so much about people dying and getting money. I just kind of forgot that wasn't something that we...
Well, when they first sent me a letter, so like I filled out the paperwork and sent it off thinking like, well, this is the end of it because my uncle told me there was nothing left over after funeral expenses. And so when they sent some other letter, I'm like, it's whatever. I didn't even like really read it because I didn't understand. I'm not an adult, by the way.
Oh, no.
I should go ahead and put that out there. Fair. I don't know who allowed me to have a child, but... It wasn't until later I was talking with my uncle, and he was like, oh, yeah, no, I heard from them. They're like, you need to, like, send in some paperwork or something or respond to a letter for they'll send you a check. Actually, I think they sent me a check, and I might have thrown it away.
Nice. Good job, Katy.
Essentially, I did eventually get the check.
I've done that before where you just, like, this is junk mail.
Yes. Well, that's because I was told that there was nothing else, and so the thing that I did... was supposed to be the end of it. Yeah. And I thought it was just like them saying like, oh, you should, you know.
Here's more stuff like, for you to shred.
You're on our mailing list now. Yeah. We're going to send you information about getting a life insurance policy through our company or whatever.
Turns out it was a big old check. A medium-sized check. Small check.
Yeah, it was a small check. I mean, as far as life insurance policies go, because we're talking about
in Pam's world, it would be a small check.
Oh, small potatoes.
I mean, to Pam.
Nickels.
Yeah. Pennies. Good grief.
How pedestrian. 4,000.
Oh, man. I should probably get a life insurance policy.
Yeah, meanwhile, for some people, that's life-changing money right there, 4,000.
Payoff? I don't know what would pay off for me. It would make it... Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it would help with some stuff.
I mean, just think about putting an extra $4,000 to your mortgage right away. Like,
that would be nice. Yeah. Towards that principal. Not towards the interest. Principal. Okay, so Pam's mother is dead. Pam may or may not have collected money. And then in 2014, at the very beginning of 2014... media coverage begins to garner some public interest in Russ's case, which is good. In February, the Post-Dispatch, which I think is it's a news source of some kind, reported that Pam had kept the $150,000 life insurance payout that she got from Betsy.
That was supposed to go to Betsy's daughters.
Yes. Back in 2012, one of the investigating detectives had suggested to Pam that she put the money in a trust, quote, for the sake of appearances. He was like, you should do it for the girls, but also, like, because it's going to look bad if you don't. So she eventually did put it in a trust. She waited until a week before Russ's trial began, but then eventually she literally got rid of the trust. So, like, the article was like, there is no trust with this money in it. The article also highlighted, like, all of the sketchy inconsistencies with Pam's story.
Which was not covered in the recap. I just want to go back so that everyone's on page. One of my favorite inconsistencies, well, not inconsistency, I guess, but just red flags, was when she was first, not even questioned, really, just the police first went to her house because she was one of the last people to see, or she was the last person to see Betsy alive. She's like, oh, I just got out of the shower. I also showered last night.
Yeah.
I shower at night and in the morning.
Yeah. I always double shower.
Nobody offers that information.
Yeah. Yeah. No, don't offer.
Nobody normal offers that information for no reason.
Yeah.
I bring up weird all the time in conversations because I have no filter. I don't tell people about my showering things unless we're having a discussion about this.
Yeah. Well, also, if you come to the door, like, if you answer the door and your hair is wet, you don't need to explain. You don't need to explain. Like, if your hair's in a towel, you don't have to explain why. It's kind of understood that that's a thing that humans do.
Yeah. This
article also alleged that Cheney, who was the prosecuting attorney, or the whatever.
Is she a real bulldog?
Yeah. She had been in a relationship with the captain of investigations for the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office during the case. So some inappropriate conflicts of interest going on. In July of 2014, Betsy's daughters sued Pam for the $150,000 that she got from the life insurance policy that was supposed to go into a trust.
I bet Pam did not enjoy being sued. It's not fun when the other shoe is on the other foot, is it, Pammy?
Are you holding on to your...
Yeah.
Okay,
I got
good.
him clutched close.
I got some more quotes from you. Okay. So, when asked... Quote, did Betsy mention to you that she wanted the money to be used for her daughters? Pam answered, quote, absolutely not. She also said of Betsy, quote, she would want me to have whatever she had. So Roberts, I guess, is the daughter's lawyer. He asked, is it correct that you lied to Betsy's sister, Julia Swaney, about what you were going to do with those life insurance proceeds? This is all a giant quote from that article. Hupp answered, yes. Roberts followed up, did you lie to anyone else that you've spoken to about what you were going to do with these life insurance proceeds? Hupp said, possibly. Roberts, who else may you have lied to? Hupp, anybody who would bug me and bug me and bug me and bug me and bug me. Roberts, did the detectives bug you and bug you? Hupp, yeah. Roberts, so you might have lied to them? Hupp, no, they didn't bug me about the proceeds. That wasn't their focus. When asked about whether or not she still had the money from the trust, Pam said that she had it in cash. And she, quote, brought it in a bag. The claim... Okay, back to quotes from the article. The claim seemed so unbelievable that the daughter's attorney had to ask again. Hupp answered in frustration. What did I just say? I had a sack of cash, and am I not clear?
She is so... I don't know if unhinged is right, because she doesn't sound fully, like, unhinged. She's just so detached from reality.
She is really detached from reality. Yeah. Roberts says, So you brought a sack of cash and showed Miss Askey, which is Miss Cheney, that was her maiden name, that you had $150,000. Is that your testimony here? Hupp. How many times do you want me to say it? Leah Askey, Cheney, testified to the same story. Attorney Roberts asked, You saw that bag of money? Askey said, I did. Roberts. And did she say there was $150,000 in this bag? Askey. I don't know that she said specifically how much there was, but she had a bag of money. Attorney Roberts asked, What's happened to that cash since? He asked, You still have that life insurance proceeds? Hupp. No. Roberts. Where are they? Hupp. I bought in November. I used that money to buy a house on the Troy courthouse steps. Hupp continued. It was my money, my personal money in my checking account. I still have $150,000.
Good. So you can take that $150,000 that you owe to the daughters.
So, unfortunately, the case was dismissed because technically... Because she said once that it was Betsy's intention for that money to go, there was no formal legal documentation that explicitly said that. I figured it would be a lost cause. But at the very least, it might have caused her to use some of that bag o' cash to pay for legal fees. Yeah, and at the very least, we got those beautiful quotes on record.
We also got, proof that she perjured herself.
Yeah, I mean, we have, on record her admitting that she lied about her intentions with the cash.
Yeah, and I don't know if she perjured herself, because I don't know if she said anything about the life insurance policy while she was under oath. Because she was questioned during Russ's trial, she gave testimony at his trial, right?
I don't think she did.
Okay.
I think she was just questioned by investigators.
So, it wouldn't be perjury then unless she was actually sworn in.
Yeah.
So, but still, lying to detectives could be obstruction of justice.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I just really love that she had a bag of money. She was just like, here's...
She just brought with her. This is not freaking show and tell.
It's like $150,000. But don't count it. In February of 2015, Russ's conviction was successfully appealed and was set to be retried in November. So before the new trial, Russ's defense attorney began to collect some more evidence for the new trial.
Oh, good.
I know, right? He
was like, great idea.
Let's do this. So Pam had recently gone to detectives with a new story. She told detectives that she and Betsy had actually been lovers. And that Russ had threatened to kill her over this fact. And, the way she described it was, that, Betsy wasn't getting what she needed sexually from Russ, and so that Pam was such a great friend that she was just, gonna fulfill those needs for Betsy, too. And, she, tied that up as part of Russ's motivation. I don't know. And then there was this random quote, and I have no idea who it was attributed to, but a friend of Pam said, quote, Pam was the most homophobic person I'd ever met. So, which I do want to preface with saying that doesn't mean that closeted people cannot project as being homophobic. But, come on, Pam. Were you really? No. Come on.
It's unlikely that someone who's, I don't know. I was just thinking, someone who's outwardly homophobic would still fall on that sword kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But I don't really know where I was going with that. I'm just still...
It's such a weird, like, narcissistic claim to make.
I'm hung up on, like, narcissism is, like, definitely a thing, but it makes me think of Munchausen by proxy, where she's getting the attention because someone else is sick, so she's getting attention off of, you know, this murder, and so, like her going to the police with a different story after Russ's appeal could be seen as self-preservation.
Right.
Because, like, oh, you know, they're going to retry him and they might come after me, so I've got to make sure that I'm, you know, like, the best offense is a good defense or whatever, right? Or is it the best? Whatever.
Yeah.
It works both ways.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it just reeks of... again, narcissism and just wanting that attention.
Yeah. It's just... and, like...
She just crazy town.
She is. And I hate that, like... I mean... I don't know. I just...
also hate dismissing people who obviously have mental disorders as just crazy.
Yeah.
But she's not a good person.
Yeah, she's... I mean, there is definitely something... wrong with her brain, and it is manifesting in the most harmful ways possible, and I do not even know how, like, I don't know, this is not one that I know how to...
It resulted in the death of a woman and 4 years of incarceration of a probably innocent man.
Well, so far the death of 2 women, because her mother died.
I was just focusing on...
Yeah. But, like, I don't know. I don't even know how to... I mean, like, I know we do talk about mental illness, and, like, I don't know if she has anything other than, like, fucking narcissistic personality disorder or whatever. Because, like, all she's doing is just harming other people. I don't know. Okay, so Pam comes up with this new story, and then in October, so remember, Russ's new trial is going to start in November. So
well, first of all, she's crazy, but she's still mentally fit to stand trial.
Yes. So in October, Pam comes to detectives again, and she's like, Great news! Remember how I have memory problems?
I remembered something.
Great news, I've uncovered a memory. Specifically, that she remembered seeing Russ at their home on the night of the murder. She said that she remembered seeing Russ sitting in a car with another man outside the house when she left after dropping off Betsy. And she was like, it's so weird, I've just uncovered this memory. And, like, someone later was like, that's not how memory loss works. Like, that's not how uncovering memories work, but go off. 2 weeks before the trial starts, forensic computer experts finally found that email that Pam had talked about. Remember the email?
Oh, yeah. I've been waiting for that to come up.
Okay, so it was originally an email, but then Pam was like, oh, just kidding, it's a document. Okay, so this is what the forensic computer experts found finally after Russ has been sitting in jail. So it was the only document on Betsy's laptop with a, quote, unknown author. There was evidence that it had been written using Microsoft Word 97, which was not installed on Betsy's laptop, but was installed on Pam's. This is kind of weird, but stay with me. Outlook had not been... So Outlook, the email service, had been open when this document had been written, but because Betsy didn't use Outlook for her email, the document couldn't be sent by email from her laptop. I guess they could see that someone had tried to email it from Outlook. And then cookies on the laptop or whatever showed that someone had searched for Betsy's signature, and I'm guessing that's like her email signature. And then this is a quote from the email /document. And this is kind of pieced together. I know we talked about this yesterday, but I feel I really need you to believe me. I really do feel that Russ is going to do something to me. He continued to tell me how much money he would make after I die. I need to change my life insurance. Do you think I could put it in your name and you could help my daughters when they need it? If something happens to me, would you please show this to the police? And just to remind
I have so many issues with that, but I'll let you go.
Well, I was just going to remind everyone, Pam told police that this was an email that Betsy tried to send to her documenting, like, physical abuse that Russ had done to her and was, like, evidence that he was threatening to kill her and that police really needed to see this, but that she never actually received this email, but she knew everything that it said.
Also reinforced her.
Conveniently reinforced everything she was saying.
But, oh no, it conveniently reinforced that the money was intended for the daughters.
Yes.
And also she asked, can I name you a beneficiary?
Yeah.
When, I don't know when this document was written.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they'll figure that out. But according to the records or whatever, that policy had already changed at least days prior.
Yeah. I guess they read the document in court, and one of Betsy's good friends was like, Betsy did not write that. Like, that does not sound like her at all. Like, that's not how she writes. That's not how she talks. Like, there's no way that she wrote that. So anyways, all of these things were presented at trial to, thankfully, a new judge who did allow evidence of an alternate suspect to be presented. And Russ's conviction was overturned on May 7th of 2015, and he was released from prison.
Good.
So, Russ is out of prison. It's November 2015. Everything is...
I said 2017.
2015.
Sorry.
November 7th of 2015.
Okay. Sorry, my brain doesn't do the thing like normal people.
That's okay. On August 16th of 2016, Louis Royce Gumpenberger, who's 33, who is your next picture, was found dead from several gunshots in the home of Pam Hupp.
Weird things just keep happening around Pam.
I know. So Pam had called 911 just after midnight to report a burglary in progress. And then she made another 911 call shortly after that to report that she had shot the intruder. So investigators come out. They find Louis dead from several gunshots. They find $900 in cash in Louis's pocket, double bagged in Ziploc bags, and a handwritten note. And the note has instructions to, quote, kidnap Hupp, get Russ's money from Hupp at her bank, and kill Hupp. Also, quote, take Hupp back to house and get rid of her. Make it look like Russ's wife. Make sure knife sticking out of neck. The note also instructed him to leave the money in the woodpile at the Faria's house and promised a reward of $10,000, the $900 being a down payment.
So she was trying to frame Russ for hiring a killer.
So at the police department, Pam tells her story of what happened. She says that a silver four-door sedan had pulled up to her house and stopped behind her driveway, I guess, while she was sitting in her car in her garage. Louis had gotten out of the passenger side of the car, run over to her car, and gotten into the passenger seat, held a knife to her throat, and demanded that she take him to the bank to, quote, get Russ's money. Pam said that he kept looking over his shoulder while he was yelling at her, and so she had taken that opportunity to, quote, karate chop his arm and knock the knife away. Because, you know, she's very capable of taking care of herself.
Mm-hmm. Despite her
many disabilities and brain injuries.
Brain injuries, disabilities, memory loss. Ugh.
And then she ran inside the house, said she tried to call 911 several times before the call went through.
That's not how it works.
I don't know how her phone works. And then when she realized that Lewis was in the house, she ran to her bedroom, got the gun that she kept in her bedside table, and shot him until the gun stopped firing. When asked about the contents of the note found on Lewis, Pam initially told investigators that she didn't know anyone named Russ, and that she didn't know what he could be referring to.
Oh, well, those pesky memory issues.
When he said Russ's money. In a later interview, she did admit, oh, that's right, Russ Faria. Okay. And understanding that Russ's money was referring to the $150,000
that she had in cash in a bag at one point.
Yes. Oh, yes, that money. Silly me, my silly memory. So Louis Gumpenberger, who had no ties to either Pam nor the Faria family at all, unfortunately he was just a completely random person, had suffered a traumatic brain injury and nerve damage in a car accident in 2005. So, like, the only person with actual traumatic brain damage in this injury is Lewis. According to friends and family, he didn't go anywhere by himself. He had a speech impediment and some physical limitations from his accident. His left hand was particularly impaired. He was very soft-spoken.
So it would be difficult for him to...
Yes, like...
accost and threaten a woman.
Very much the least likely person to be carrying out a crime like this. And this is a quote, his mother drove him to his doctor's appointments and he walked everywhere else. So, like, he was not...
Was he, like, walking down Pam's street one day and she's like, hey, come in, I've got cookies or something?
Oh, let me tell you.
Come on, man.
So, further investigation uncovered a woman who had been randomly approached by Pam on August 10th. Pam told her that she was with Dateline and was doing a story on 911 calls. And she tried to recruit this woman to record a soundbite of a 911 call and was going to pay her $1,000. And the woman refused when Pam couldn't produce credentials, like Dateline credentials. So essentially, what they think is that she kind of did the same thing to Lewis, was that she found him and was like, hey, I'm with Dateline. Come do this thing. Because cell phone evidence, aka Google tracking data, where Google's watching all of us, showed that Pam had been near Lewis's house earlier that day. These are my favorite parts. Police also found a $100 bill in Pam's dresser that had a sequential serial number
with the hundreds and the...
Yep, that matched the hundreds found on Lewis.
I was waiting to hear if there was any fingerprint evidence on those stacks.
Not that they mentioned, but the knife that Lewis had allegedly used to threaten Pam was purchased at the Dollar Tree alongside several other items found inside Pam's house, just like household items that she was using. And the paper that the note was written on was also purchased by Pam. Like the sloppiest setup job.
Oh, Pammy.
It's probably due to her memory problems that she has.
She forgets that DNA, paper trails, forgot about the fingerprints, etc.
Well, you know what it was? She was probably purchasing the knife at the Dollar Tree, and then she suddenly uncovered a memory that she
needed toilet paper and
a couple other things.
And salt. I don't know.
So she bought those other things. Which, Pam...
A new loofah.
I just want to say, if $150,000 is not a lot of money to you, why are you doing all of your shopping at the Dollar Tree? Can you at least go to Target? At least. I hate the Dollar Tree. Just because of it. Because of... I mean, I love the deals, but
it's sad.
It makes me want to.
It's very sad. I love the Dollar Tree at Christmas time. That's where I get all of my like wrapping supplies.
That's where I get my stocking stuffers. It's good for that stuff. Okay. So on August 23rd, 2016, Pam was arrested. We love that. During her interview, after her arrest, she asked to go to the bathroom. And while in the bathroom, she used a ballpoint pen to stab herself in the neck and wrists.
Ouch.
Yeah. This was an apparent suicide attempt, but it did not work. So they think that the reason that she decided to go ahead and try to frame Lewis was because Dateline had been airing episodes on Betsy's case, highlighting Pam's involvement. They'd already aired 3 episodes, and they had at least 2 more scheduled, which would have been more airtime than any other case had ever been given other than O.J. Simpson and JonBenet Ramsey. Wow. I know. That July, Russ had also filed a civil suit against the Lincoln County prosecutors and detectives involved in Betsy's case.
Hell yeah.
I know.
Go after Cheney.
I know. Pam pleaded not guilty and then waived her right to a jury trial and entered an Alford plea. So, are you familiar with Alford pleas? Mm-mm. So it pretty much is when you admit that there's enough evidence to convict you, but you maintain your innocence. It's kind of shitty, but you still end up with a conviction on your record. So she was convicted of murder, but she gets to say, well, I maintained my innocence, if that makes sense. She gets to maintain that she never pled guilty or whatever, but she doesn't go through the trial.
It's like a plea deal without pleading guilty.
Yeah, kind of.
Got it.
And because she did this, it took the death penalty off the table for her. In August of 2019, she was sentenced to life without parole for Lewis's murder. Shortly before her sentencing, in June, Lincoln County prosecuting attorney Mike Wood announced that he was going to be reopening Betsy's case. And then something called the 2020 pandemic happened, and so investigation slowed down a little bit. I think I've heard of that. Yeah, it was a really small thing, kind of localized. Yeah,
only affected like a handful of people,
yeah,
right?
It was really just in Missouri, I think. Which is probably why
they don't call it misery for nothing.
Nice, I've never heard of that. It would be really smart if that movie took place in Missouri.
Keep going. Okay. The pandemic happened.
Okay.
The investigation stalled or slowed.
Yes. But on July 12th of 2021, Pam Hupp was officially charged with first-degree murder and armed criminal action in the death of Betsy Faria. Woohoo. And the prosecution stated that they would be seeking the death penalty. As part of the evidence presented, which I think this was just evidence presented, like, to be able to charge her, because it hasn't gone to trial yet. Mm. They presented the fact that Pam was named the sole beneficiary of the life insurance policy and the fact that she kept the money. Mm-hmm. The fact that she had insisted on driving Betsy home from her chemo, despite Betsy already having prior transportation arranged. The position of Betsy's body, which is what I mentioned at the very beginning, when she was found, suggested that she had been killed by someone that she knew or trusted, aka she hadn't gotten up from the couch, she was laying down. I don't think I mentioned this before. Pam had texted Betsy, quote, home at 7:20 when her cell phone records showed that she was still in the vicinity of the Faria home, which was kind of, whatever. Prosecution alleges that Pam killed Betsy for financial gain. Their theory that they will be presenting is that she waited until Betsy was laying down, possibly asleep on the couch, and obviously weak from her chemo treatment, that she stabbed her to death while she slept, and then, I had not heard this part before, that she removed her sock and then used the sock to spread blood around the house and make it look like there had been a domestic dispute, and then put the sock back on her foot. In July of 2021, Pam pled not guilty to the charges, which they eventually dismissed the armed criminal action charge. Her preliminary hearing was delayed because her public defender died of a heart attack.
Oh my.
I know. I think she's got some bad juju around her.
Also, she's using a public defender.
Yeah.
But she has all this money that, $150,000 is small potatoes to her.
I mean, maybe all of her wages have been garnished. Garnished?
Not garnished.
Not garnered.
We've been garnished.
My brain hurts.
There's some parsley and a lime wedge.
Hey, small potatoes. We're talking about garnishes. Okay, in August of 2022, she waived her right to a preliminary hearing, which no one knows why she did that, because her brain is also not working. I don't know. And then in October of 2022, her trial was transferred to Greene County, Missouri, just in the hopes of getting an impartial jury. And then Russ's defense lawyer says that he does not anticipate the trial the case being tried before 2024. So
there's a Netflix series out. Or is it Netflix? I don't know. There's a series
There's a series, yeah. So essentially, she's been charged. Her trial hasn't happened yet. But that is the story of Pam Hupp and her... I don't even know what to call that.
So Hot Mess Express.
Yeah. Anyways.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
You were right. I was bad. I'm exhausted, everyone. Sorry.
That's okay.
But I was energized, fueled by my righteous indignation and anger over the stupidity of so much of that.
Do you have energy to tell people our socials?
Oh, barely. And only because you pay me the big bucks for this.
I know. And because I don't know how to do it.
So if you want to see pictures from this episode and other fun things, you can check out our Facebook and Instagram at The Tales We Tell Podcast. If you want to see those things but don't do the social media, pop on over to our website, thetaleswetellpodcast.com. And if you want to support us and get yourself some sweet, sweet swag, you should check out Redbubble. Search The Tales We Tell. We've got multiple logo designs, and you can put that shit on anything. Mm-hmm. And if you want to support us but you don't need the stuff, but you still want, I don't know, early access, commercial-free listening, bonus content, some stickers, love notes, all that jazz, become a patron at patreon.com. Search The Tales We Tell. And until next week, bye.
Bye.